The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Dude, is Thunderstruck by AC/DC the only hockey song known to mankind, Trevor?
It's more shocking than the Shocker. I'll tell you that for free.
What the hell's the shock?
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another shocking episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks and also a Canucks writer since 2013, currently with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into today's episode, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. You know why? Because it is your Canucks almost every damn day. Part of that Locked On Podcast Network. They're doing the most for sports fans across the world. And for our show, if you haven't done so already, make sure you go subscribe, like, follow us for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And we're here first and foremost because of the fans, but we're also here because of the sponsors. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. It's safe to say that the Vancouver Canucks shocked the hockey world last season with a lot of shocking performances from a number of players. But it begs the question, which player is ready to shock the NHL next season? Because, you know, with sports, there's always surprises, and there's going to be a surprisingly shocking player on the Vancouver Canucks. Let's get into that on this upcoming episode of Locked On Canucks. Before I do that, let me introduce my co-host, the guy who's been carrying the show while I've been hanging out in the woods like a damn hippie, Kyle Bound. How's it going, brother?
Yeah, damn hippie with your daughter, though, being the second best dad of all time. Let's be honest. Let's be real. And let's be even more honest and real, man. We got Clifford coming on the show in a couple minutes, okay? Second segment, we got a fan coming on because that's what it's all about, man. Straight up, man. That's what it's all about. You know, all those people leave the comments, oh, well, look at what this channel's doing. Look what this channel's doing. These guys are beating you in views. Bro, is Clifford watching your channel? You know what I'm saying, Trevor? We're good. We're good. We don't need more. Straight up. We have Clifford and company, and we are really appreciative of all that. We'll get to Clifford and his comments about which Canucks player is about to shock the NHL, okay? Maybe he has a different name than us. Anyways, Trevor, who do you have in mind, okay? Look at the roster. Take away the big dogs. Maybe you want to sprinkle in a big dog and say he's going to have like 200 points, okay? Anyways, who is going to shock the NHL on this Vancouver Canucks roster?
Yeah, I'll toss out a few names here, but let me go with one of the big dogs first and foremost. And I don't know if this is stating the obvious, but I'm starting off by saying Elias Pettersson.
Whoa, boring. Boring.
Is it boring? Is it boring? This guy
every time you go to the woods, all you think about is Elias Pettersson. I hope you get the one-on-one interview with him this year, man. Okay, for real. Where did Trevor go? Did Trevor just disconnect out of nowhere? Anyways, Trevor Beggs only thinks about Elias Pettersson. Unreal. Which player is going to shock the world? The number one center for the Vancouver Canucks or the number two center? Either or. Trevor, keep talking about this because, again, you're in the woods. You're doing your thing. Elias Pettersson in your mind when you should be thinking about, you know, your taxes and Christmas coming up and all that. But continue.
Look, Elias Pettersson right now, I think he's one of the most hated players of the Vancouver Canucks, for lack of a better term. Everyone seems to be negative on this guy, and, you know, rightly so after the postseason he had. Rightly so after, you know, impressive points of last season, but also a lot of inconsistency. But I think we're forgetting that this guy still put up 89 points last season. And I do think that there's maybe a 20 to 25 point bump in store potentially for Elias Pettersson. And, you know, I won't go too nerdy on you, but one of the stats I look at when I'm trying to see, you know, which players might have more in the tank next season is that IPP, individual points percentage, the number of points a player gets when he's on the ice. And for forwards, usually it's in that 65 to 70% range. Pettersson was below that last season. And again, this was a guy that up until February was one of the league leaders in even strength points and kind of fell off a cliff. This guy was on that 110 plus point pace, and he ended up with 89 points. Again, with a bad power play, and obviously his even strength production tailed off as well. He just wasn't producing at all. But I think that, you know, despite the negativity around Elias Pettersson, I truly believe that he's in store for a monster season this year. And so,
Okay.
yeah, you might call it the boring answer.
It
But I
is.
do think Elias Pettersson is going to shock the NHL. Maybe, Kyle, maybe I think you're boring, man.
Okay, it's boring Begsy over here. Okay, so it's only going to be shocking, in my opinion, if he puts up like 120 points, which is ironic because I feel as if all summer last year, you and I were talking about Elias Pettersson putting up 120 points. Okay, Nikita Kucherov like numbers.
Would
Do
it
you
be
think
shocking to you? I'll say this. Would it be shocking to you if he ends up like in the Hart conversation? Would that not be a bit of a shock?
Whoa, there you go, Trevor. That's the type of energy I want, bro. You know, oh, Pettersson lacks heart. Pettersson lacks heart. Well, how about him winning the Hart Trophy? Trevor, man. That's what it is. Okay, so again, though, not that points matter and whatnot, because I also do have this, like, I'm still all over the place with the Vancouver Canucks. I think they're going to be more offensive. I think Talk is going to open it up. Go listen to the episode I dropped yesterday. I dropped a lot of theories on why I think the Canucks would have one of the best offenses in hockey / one of the best offenses in franchise history, all that jazz. But at the same time, I wonder how many players take their foot off the pedal to like, save some gas for the playoffs, and I wonder if Pettersson's on that boat. All that being said, can you put a point total to what it would take for Pettersson to, again, shock the NHL? Like, is it 98 points? Is it 102? He's already gotten 100 before. Like, what's the number that you think he's going to get for him to be nominated for the Hart? Because real talk, guys like Kucherov and McDavid get nominated for the Hart, and they put up like 120 plus points. Like, what's that number looking like? Because, again, we're talking about surprising the whole league.
I think it's twofold, and I think it's both on the offensive and defensive side of the puck. I think it is probably 100 plus points, but also having maybe some of the best defensive metrics in the league. Now, that might be a bit far-fetched because you look at the Canucks last season, and JT Miller was the de facto number one matchup center. But maybe Miller and Besser don't quite have the same defensive juices last season. Maybe Pettersson is in a better position to succeed with a defensively responsible winger like Jake DeBrusk alongside him.
Ooh.
You know, I think there's a path here, again, for Pettersson, who, again, a lot of negativity around this guy. I think there's a path for him to be one of the most dominant players in the NHL next season, which, to your point, Kyle, a bit boring in the sense that maybe some people do believe that. Some people predict that. But just from me talking to a lot of casual Canuck fans out there, there's a lot of people that don't believe this guy has the juice.
Yeah, that's surprising to me. It was one effing season. Okay, for real, it's one effing season. Anyways, how about my choice of that player that's about to shock the NHL, okay? And I don't know if this one is surprising to Canucks fans, but I think it may be surprising to the league if he, how do I say this, breaks 60 points, surpasses like everything we've known of him from the past, and that's Conor Garland. Look, I just look at Conor Garland as a guy that when he's on, dude, there's some times where he's our third best forward, and that's like right below Brock Besser or right below Elias Pettersson when JT Miller, is leading the charge. And when I talk about him being on, I'm talking about him being a game breaker. I'm talking about him making plays. I'm talking about him being full of tenacity, him making smart plays. Speaking of smart plays, the more and more you pay attention to this team, you start realizing that Conor Garland doesn't have a lot of bad games. Now, what if he plays more? And you look at what the contract they gave Dakota Joshua, I feel as if, again, going back to what I said about maybe numbers dropping off for some players because some players are going to save some for the gas, save some gas for the playoffs. Well, maybe that happens because there's more balanced minutes going out throughout the lineup, and that's how they save gas. And that means Conor Garland and Dakota Joshua are playing more 5-on-5. Heck, I'm not going to say he's going to be a savant on the second power play unit, but I see a world where, again, Conor Garland is more consistent from game 1 to game 82, and he puts together like a 28 goal season with like 34 assists because he has a skill set. I think now he has the confidence knowing that the city has his back. Remember the Conor Garland chance against the Vegas Golden Knights? I feel as if this dude loves hockey. He oozes hockey. Now he has the city behind him, and he has that chemistry with Dakota Joshua. I know we're talking about him playing with Teddy Bluger down the middle or Pio Suter. We're not talking about household names that can help him with his point totals, but something tells me that, again, Conor Garland, after all these signings of DeBrusk and Heinen and Sherwood, Conor Garland is about to have a career year this season.
I think you hit the nail on the head, right? It's the path is there for Conor Garland, but he's got to get more ice time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you look at what he did last season. I mean, he already had 20 goals, 47 points, playing just 14-32 a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like those numbers are pretty unreal. It's maybe not quite Daniel Sprong territory in terms of one of the guys we just signed, but like you said, if this guy plays 2 minutes more per game, there is a path for him to get, what did you say, 28 goals and 34 assists, like to get near 60 points or in and around there. And, to throw back to a couple of weeks ago when we did our lineup projections, I said it was one of the reasons why I said that I want to see Dakota Joshua and Conor Garland in a top 6 role, because I think they've earned that opportunity. We talk about having the best third line in the NHL, and, that means something. But I also think the winger depth is there to have a solid bottom 6 and still have Dakota Joshua and Conor Garland in a top 6 role alongside Pettersson or JT Miller.
And Trevor, they're getting paid like it. So there's that opportunity for the management group and the coaching staff to look at these guys as players that not only deserve more opportunity, but are needed to have that, again, more opportunity. Like we're talking about Hine and Sherwood. I feel as if there's been more talk about Sherwood or Hine planning with Pettersson or Miller than there's been of Garland and Joshua getting moved up the lineup. And I know it's a little ironic coming from me because I'm so in love with Teddy Blucher being down the middle with those guys, but we don't know what's going to happen in training camp. We don't know what's going to happen in the regular season. I think one thing is for certain, though, that those two, again, Joshua and Garland, are always going to be a package because they do have that chemistry. And you never know. You never know. Maybe DeBrusk plays with Brock Besser and JT Miller, and then you have this line that people do want in our comments. We see this all the time. And I think Trevor's kind of touched on this as well, if I'm not mistaken and tripping out, but it's Elias Pettersson around those two players. So if those things happen, and again, just in general, Conor Garland gets to play 1 to 2 minutes more per game, I just see a player that's about to showcase, like the point totals he was putting up in Quebec. It's not going to be that, but there's a new level to Conor Garland that we're about to see this season in a system where Rick Tocchet is talking about opening it up. Okay. Anyways, Locked on Canucks. We'll get to more on the other side. Who else is going to shock the NHL? Okay. Clifford, man, my guy, one of the coolest guys in the Discord. Honestly, a good friend, a good pal down there. Just a glue guy. He seems like one of those guys. He's going to be on the other side. If you want to ever talk to Trevor and I on Locked on Canucks, join the Discord. It's easy to communicate there because we want to get the people involved. And again, we will be asking Clifford, who is going to shock the NHL on your Vancouver Canucks.
All right, Clifford coming up on the other side. But before that, we got to get paid. So we got to shout out our friends over at FanDuel. All right, it is really the dog days of summer right now, But, NFL preseason's on, NFL's on the horizon, NHL creeping closer to being on the horizon. And for all of that coming up, FanDuel will have you covered. But for other stuff going on, like my beloved Canadian Football League, FanDuel, they can hook you up there because they are hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily all summer long. That's right. There's something for everyone every day throughout the damn summer. And for my Canadian Football League, Nathan Rourke rejoining the BC Lions, and that means the BC Lions are favorites on Sunday against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Whether you're betting on CFL, MLB, whatever else, make sure you do so on FanDuel. They are the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer.
People, we are back on Locked on Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. That right there is Trevor Beggs. And below us, man, it's the man named Clifford, man. Clifford, how you doing, man? Go Canucks, go. Thanks so much for joining us again. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Hey, Trevor. Hey, Kyle. Good to be here.
Oh, man, it's good having you. And I got to start with this off the top. Thanks for waiting 4 hours. I know we originally scheduled this for 8:30, but I got home super late last night, man. Honestly, wasn't feeling 100% too. Took that Neocitrin, and I'm feeling like 100%. And I'm just really grateful that you waited this out. Really appreciate you, understanding my tardiness.
No problem. I didn't really have much going on today, so my schedule's kind of open. So
there you go. And now your schedule's being filled up with this question right here. Okay, let us know. Which Canucks player is ready to shock the NHL?
I would say Jake DeBrusk. He's been almost a half point or maybe a little over a half point a game player. I think he could go with maybe 70, 80 points this season. I think he could really break out. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you know what, Clifford? I had a couple Canucks in mind for the most shocking Canuck, and really the two that I was banding about in my head was DeBrusk and Pettersson. And I mentioned that nerdy IPP stat. DeBrusk was hanging around, 60% last season in terms of IPP. So definitely below the average of an average NHL forward. And if we believe that DeBrusk is more than average, like you said, he could be in line for a huge season next year with the Vancouver Canucks. And hopefully that's the case, because he signed a deal that's going to pay him the big boy bucks for quite some time. Now, Clifford, when you think about Jake DeBrusk on the Canucks next season, where do you think that he best fits on this team?
I'd say probably the second line, if he can really get producing. You could put him on line with Miller and Besser, like you're talking about earlier, or really anyone in the top six, and I think he'd probably excel. So
Yeah, I think there's like this level with Jake DeBrusk, or like this I wouldn't say a plateau, but this understanding that this guy's gonna again be a true professional, good two-way player, give you like 50 points minimum on this team. I'm just wondering if again, if he finds like a chemistry similar to what Garland and Joshua have, or a chemistry similar to, what Bertuzzi and Naslin had. I wonder what else this guy is capable of. I mean, you look at his hockey lineage, you look at his skill set, a really, really good skater as well. You look at where he's come from, the players he's been around. I'm just curious, Trevor. Maybe you can answer this. Like, what does a season look like on the stat line if, let's say, him and Pettersson do have this brotherhood right away?
Yeah, well, I think Clifford alluded to it, and I think Kurt Richardson alluded to it in the comments. But you saw him in Boston when he played with an elite center for one season, and he had 50 points in 64 games. So you total that up to 82 games, you're looking at a 70-point player, right? And a guy who's probably in that 35-goal, 70-point range. And if he can deliver on that, making $5.5 million a season, that is a massive win for Patrick Allvin and the Vancouver Canucks. But yeah, there's pressure with this contract, right? Because the big knock on DeBrusk is he's been inconsistent. And I think we're all hoping and praying in Vancouver that, him playing with the number one center, whether it is Pettersson or whether it's Miller, is going to bring the best out of him. I believe that's going to be the case, but it's certainly wait and see mode because, again, this is a player who, throughout a fairly long NHL career so far, has, frustrated Bruins fans with his inconsistencies.
Yeah, and I wonder if he finds more consistency with, again, Rick Tocchet. Now, Clifford, do you see, I wouldn't say similarities, but a match made in heaven when it comes to coach and player, or coach and new player when it comes to Rick Tocchet getting a guy like Jake DeBrusk now?
Oh, yeah. I would say DeBrusk could be the kind of guy that would do really well under Tocchett's system. He seems like he's got some grit to his game, and he just seems like the kind of guy that would work hard and basically want to impress while he's here. So
yeah, no, and again, we mentioned this yesterday, okay, on the episode where we talked about the Canucks being a lot of fun, okay, with Rick Tocchet. We talked about how Rick Tocchet, throughout his NHL career, whether he was a coach or a player, was always around these skilled guys. And with Jake DeBrusk, I wonder if he gets more of an opportunity here to stick in the top six with, again, a huge crop of good players. I mean, he came from Boston, and there was guys like Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak around him, and now he's here with Pettersson and Miller and Besser. And I even heard him talking very highly of JT Miller on a podcast that he appeared on this summer. I just want to believe that, again, Rick Tocchet has this ability to get so close to DeBrusk, or have this this bond and this understanding, and it allows DeBrusk to have a similar output to a guy like Brock Besser this season. Is that a fair comparable when it comes to a stat line, Trevor Beggs? Because I know it sounds crazy. Brock Besser just scored 40 goals, but this is the first time he did score 40 goals. I feel like this is the first time he scored 30 goals. You know what I'm saying? So am I onto something with that? Because you're already getting a player that's molded into a two-way player. Like, I see that there could be an instance where we're looking back at this early on in this contract and we're being like, oh shit, this was the steal of the offseason.
I think we're going with that. In terms of the comparison to Brock Besser, I think that's probably the absolute ceiling for DeBrusk.
Mm-hmm.
Not to cap and put a ceiling on a guy, but I guess that's exactly what I'm doing. Because like you said, Brock Besser never hit 30 before. Now he's hitting 40. If Jake DeBrusk has 40 goals, I think we're all jumping up and down. Kyle, you're probably going streaking if Jake DeBrusk gets 40 goals.
Of course, man. Of course, man. Of course I'm going streaking, man. And bro, I'll go streaking in the cold. I'm not ashamed. I'm 31 and a half years old. I know what it is, man. I'm in love too. There's no competition anymore. Where am I going with this? I don't know. Jake DeBrusk, big season. Hey, again, you just mentioned Pettersson being the player that's going to shock the NHL. I mean, I know 4 minutes ago we're talking about him playing with Garland and Joshua, but people haven't penciled playing in with DeBrusk. So Clifford, like, do you see, like, how do you see those two players working together? Like, stylistically, technically speaking, like, how do you see those two working out if they get the chance to play together?
Do Garland and DeBrusk?
No, sorry, Pettersson and DeBrusk.
Oh, Pettersson. Yeah, I mean, Pettersson's a hell of a playmaker, right? So if he's there setting up DeBrusk, DeBrusk could get, 30, 35.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You said 40 is probably his ceiling. I would agree with that. He's 27. I'm looking at the stats here. 27 was the previous best for him in goals. So, you could definitely see him playing with Pettersson and hitting his career best right there. So.
Yeah, and Trevor and Clifford, I want you guys to answer this too. Like, in regards to Pettersson and chemistry with his line mates, like, what do you think works so well with him and Kuzmenko that they got to figure out how to transfer over to a guy like DeBrusk or, whether it be Garland or Joshua, because those two, again, were unreal when it came to knowing where to be for each other. And I just feel like they had that A to B connection. And I know Kuzmenko and Pettersson didn't have that last year, but that's pretty much the comp that we're trying to find with Pettersson this season.
Yeah, I'll tackle that one first. When I think about Andrei Kuzmenko and Elias Pettersson, what worked is that they're just both such incredibly creative playmakers. And ironically, when I look at a guy like Nils Hoglander, I actually think he has elements of both Kuzmenko and DeBrusk in his game. He's got the elements of Kuzmenko because when Hoglander's got the puck on his stick, I think he's one of the most creative players in the NHL. He's certainly in that upper echelon. But Hoglander is also a bit of a garbage goal guy. Like, he scores a lot of his goals right from in front of the net. And that's what DeBrusk does really well. The two ways DeBrusk scores most of his goals, if you look at his, goal by goal, is right in front of the net and off the rush. And I think off the rush is something the Canucks kind of struggled with last season. They were better a few years ago at that. So I think that's something that's, I'd be interested if it would be DeBrusk and Hoglander with Pettersson, to be honest with you. I might have even said that during my lineup projection episodes a couple weeks ago. But Hoglander is the closest player to Kuzmenko. But again, consistency is key. And DeBrusk has battled with it. Hoglander's battled with it. I think almost every NHLer battles with it. But we'll see if those three can stick together next season. I kind of want to continue this shocking conversation on the other side, maybe get to a couple of comments. But let's pause for an ad break here because we got to get paid, okay? More shocking questions and answers on the other side. A couple comments after we shout out our friends over at eBay Motors. You know the deal, baby. It's passion, it's drive, and it's patience. That's what brings home the championship, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, in-seat bidets, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from for your ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, baby. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Oh, yeah. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusive by eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers.
People, we back doing this, and that's giving you this episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. That's Trevor Beggs. And that's also Clifford, man, one of the greatest fans on the Locked On Podcast Network. Man, oh, man, doing a lot for us, giving us that support. And I don't even think I'm lying when I say this. I think people think I'm exaggerating, but guys like Clifford make me and Trevor feel as if we're living the dream. So we do appreciate your time with us today and just your time in general, episode after episode. Hey, speaking of which, we do give you your Canucks every day on the podcast side and on YouTube. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out a lot. Again, I keep saying this because before you know it, I'm going to be right. And Christmas is like next week. And Trevor and I, we understand, man. Happy wife, happy life. Okay? So help us out. Smash the like button. And let's keep this conversation going. Clifford, we keep talking about shock in the NHL. Okay, Trevor, we keep talking about that. Let's let's completely shock the NHL with this question, okay? Or this theory, okay? In 10 months, the Vancouver Canucks finally win the Stanley Cup. What are the chances of that happening? Because to me, I'm going to use the percentage of 22%. Anyways, Clifford, start off. Like, how good are the chances of the Canucks actually doing this year?
Well, I've been a fan since the 93-94 season,
Woo!
so I've seen them lose the 94 and 2011. They broke my 13-year-old heart in 2000 or 94, but I don't know. I would say the chances of them winning the cup are probably better than at any point since 2011. So I'm going to go with like 25%.
Woo! Man, oh man.
I'm going with 40%, man. You know, I'm running off the back of EP40, getting in the heart conversation. I'm feeling on a Friday in August. You know, your Vancouver Canucks, they're fun. They're sexy again. And yeah, of course, it's not going to be easy to get there, but I'm giving a big old 4-0 in terms of the percentage. That math don't make sense, but I'm going with it.
And okay, what are you doing, Clifford? Let's say the Canucks do win the Stanley Cup. Like what's your plan like? What's your night looking like? What's the next day looking like? Are you spending it with people that you love and just like who you've been watching the Canucks with for years and years? Like, what does that feeling look like for you?
You know what? I really don't have many friends that are Canucks fans. So my roommates, you know, a couple of them are pretty big Canucks fans. So you know, I'd probably be high-fiving them all night long. You know, just reveling in the moment, right? It's it would be incredible. I've never experienced it, but yeah, it would be incredible.
I'm crying.
Yeah,
I'm crying. Sorry, Trevor. Go ahead.
It's funny you say that, Clifford, because you know, in my life too, it's funny. Most of my friends like aren't really hockey fans or Canuck fans. It was definitely, you know, my family that got me into hockey. You know, that's why I'm grateful to have Kyle and have you, Clifford, and have all the listeners here on Locked On Canucks, because I need that community, man. Because in my life, most of my friends don't care about sports. They don't care about hockey. But if the Canucks are going to go on a run and win the Stanley Cup, as we've alluded to, they're going to need some shocking performances. And we talked all about the full episode, but I'm kind of curious for both of you in terms of the defense. If there's one defenseman on this Vancouver Canucks team who's going to shock the NHL next season, who do you think it's going to be? Clifford, I can go to you first.
Sorry, the question was one.
If there's a defenseman on the Canucks that's going to surprise people next season, who do you think it could be?
Defenseman. I would say probably Roenick. I think he's probably going to have a really good year again. Maybe he gets like 50, 60 points and, you know, he's not that far behind Hughes. Maybe Hughes gets 100, you know, you never know. But I think Roenick's going to be up there too.
Yeah, I wonder if Quinn getting 100 would be shocking to Canucks fans versus it being shocking to the NHL. You get what I'm saying? Because I think there's, again, I always say the West Coast, the best coast of Canada, we got educated hockey fans here. I know, you know, in the past we burnt down some buildings and we're delusional and just idiots sometimes. But man, oh man, we just know our hockey. And I'm pretty convinced that 95% of the Canucks fans out here know that Quinn Hughes was pretty much a 100-point scorer last season. And if Pettersson woke up and he helped the power play get better. I know Hughes is a huge part of that too. There's just a recipe there. And again, an alternate universe where last season was the year that Quinn Hughes got 100 points. Now, let's say he gets 100 points this season. I wonder how shocked like guys like Trevor and I and Clifford would actually be. You know what I'm saying, Trevor?
Well, you're talking to the guy that said last August that Quinn Hughes is going to hit 100 points. So, no, I wouldn't be too shocked, but maybe you'd be a bit shocked, man, because you've been talking about the Quinn Hughes regression trade a bit here. More so that
I have, and then I came back. I can't, like while you were in the woods alone, I was in the city and I was thinking and I was like listening to Rick Tocchet quotes and again, go listen to yesterday's episode and I broke it down why I think again the Canucks offense could be suited to be the best offense in franchise history based on again Rick Tocchet's ability to be a great coach. I know we coach structure and this puzzle and this defense and this playoff hockey and all this blah, blah, blah. But this guy played with Gretzky, Lemieux, Yari Curry, Mark Recchi, Ron Francis, Jaromir Jagr. You know what I'm saying? Ray Bourque. Like the list goes on and on and on. And this guy's been around offense his whole career. He's had over 950 points, I think, like over 430 goals. He's that guy too. And I wonder if his hockey nerd brain is going off and he understands that, if I lean into what Quinn Hughes brings to the team. And I lean into what Bruce Boudreau did with Pettersson, like brought out that superstar in him. Like maybe there's a new level to this team and I can also have fun with this. So even though I think that there is that option for guys like Quinn Hughes to do the whole NBA and NBA Kawhi Leonard thing, and that's like sick games, or not sick games, but you know what I'm saying? Take it easy and load up for the playoffs. I also see a world where that's not the case, and the Canucks are just like the Harlem Globetrotters of the NHL. Anyways, let's get to the comments. Again, Clifford, thanks so much for spending a lot of time with us. Like 20 minutes is a lot of time, and we really do appreciate this part of the show where, again, we can connect with fans, and I hope we can do this all season long. If you want to do this, again, join the Discord, talk to us in there. Clifford, again, I'll let you know off the jump. If you ever want to come back on the show, just mention in the Discord. We'll line it up, okay? Real talk.
All right, sounds good.
Talk. Okay, anyways, let's get to some comments. Look at this one from Kurt Richardson. Clifford, maybe you can relate to this question, okay? Or this comment. Kurt is saying that he went to a finals game in 1994 against the New York Rangers. You said you were 13 years old at the time. Maybe you can talk about if you went to a game during that run or any time during the regular season, or just in general, like, where were you watching these games? Okay. Like, how did it feel to, again, have Pavel Bure on your team, Trevor Linden, all this jazz? The Canucks are just making shocking comebacks, coming back in games, winning in overtime, going on this miracle run. Like, how did the city feel back in 1994? And again, did you go to any games throughout that season?
I didn't go to any games back then. My sister went to a few during the playoff run. I don't know if she went to any in the final, but she definitely went to some, I think, against Toronto and Dallas and maybe Calgary. Yeah, it was, the whole city really came alive, and people were everyone was excited. It was a magical couple months, really, right? So
yeah. No, what a time, man.
Those are the moments that create fans for sure, man. And what a time to be getting into the Vancouver Canucks now. I'm starting to wonder, between the 94 team, the 2011 team, and this iteration of the Canucks, which one's going to end up as the most successful one. 2011, I think, takes the cake right now, but I think there might be something about this 2024 Canucks under Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford that, again, as a group, they might shock the hockey world.
Oh, yeah, dude. Again, Trevor and I, we're always like hippy dippy about the Canucks. We're assuming the best. We're 31 and a half years old. Again, just hippy dippy. We're just out here trying to, I wouldn't say manifest the cup, but we're just trying to get good vibes in the city and keep it going. Okay. Last July, we're talking about the Canucks winning the Stanley Cup, but at the end of the day, honest question, Clifford, I know it's only been 1 year of quote unquote success with this core, but like, has there ever been a team like this where, again, like you have two number one centers, you have a Vezina caliber type goaltender? Again, in years past, it's not like Luongo won the Vezina. It's not like Kirk McLean won the Vezina. You can make the argument that this is the best goaltending this team has ever had. And oh yeah, dude, not only do they have championship pedigree throughout their organization, Rutherford, Allvin, and Tocchet, they also have a Norris Trophy winning defenseman. In my opinion, this is the best version of the Vancouver Canucks. Clifford, am I high? Like, or am I actually seeing this straight?
Well, I had someone trying to convince me that Quinn Hughes wasn't the greatest defenseman at the moment in the NHL, and I thought that was a little strange. But they had some good points. But I think this iteration of the Canucks it does feel different. It feels like they have a solid goaltending, they have solid defense, and they have, for the most part last season they had solid scoring. So it feels like they've got a good, well-rounded team. So
yeah, well-rounded is the right word.
Yeah, 100%. Let's add on one more question here in the comments before we wrap up in this episode of Locked On Canucks. And this is a pie in the sky one from Jack Maloney. But question of the day: would you offer sheet Evan Bouchard to mess with Edmonton? $11.45 million is only 2 firsts, a second, and a third. I'm going to say no for 2 reasons, and then I'll let you guys go. I think first, no, because F the Oilers, and also second, I don't think Bouchard's worth $11.45 million. But curious what you guys have to say.
Is this like something you could do next season? Like, is he an RFA right now or RFA next season? I think it's next season. I'm pretty sure it's next season.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was thinking about this today on the ride home. Not the whole Bouchard thing, but I felt as if the Canucks had cap room and wanted, like, they didn't have Carson Soucy or something. I wonder if like the Canucks would love to like F over the Oilers and do what St. Louis did with Broberg But to touch back on this whole like Bouchard and would you offer sheet him next season to F them over and because they got to extend McDavid the year after, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, because even though that guy's super clutch, super big, like his performance in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, bro, it was historic, like very historic. I just don't see him being worth that much because obviously I don't see that highly of him. And also I'm pretty cognitive of the fact that he plays with McDavid and Draisaitl a lot. Like that creates space for him, to wind up and do his thing. I just don't know if Bouchard is like, he's nowhere close to better than Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, Clifford, what do you think? Would you offer sheet Evan Bouchard to screw over the Oilers, or are you shying away from that at $11.45 million per season?
Well, if he's making $11.45 million and McDavid's making 12.5, I think there's something wrong there. I don't think he's worth Pettersson money. He's a good defenseman. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's worth Pettersson money.
Yeah, I completely agree. So we're all on the same page, not paying Evan Bouchard $11.45 million. We're also on the same page because we're all getting out of here, okay? So shout out to the everydayers, the occasion listeners, the first-time listeners, the new subscribers, and those of you who join us on the live show on YouTube. We love each and every one of you, your families and your dogs too, whatever you're listening, wherever you're listening. And an awesome special shout out to Clifford as well, man. We really appreciate you hopping on. Kyle, say something to the people before we get out of here.
Okay, look at this comment from Stefan Johansson, okay? One of the OG fans of Locked On Canucks, okay? He says, Canada is the kindest country in the world, just the best cheers, okay? And I like to think that, okay? I like to understand that, take it to heart, and walk proudly because of it. But man, oh man, I found out a couple days ago that there are mother effers out there buying campsite bookings from like the BC Park Board for super cheap or just reserving them for free. I found out people are doing that, which is cool. That's the game. But then also those same people are reselling those campsites on Craigslist for like 8 times the price. Okay, I understand times are tough. Ish is really expensive out there. We're in a crazy time in life right now in 2024. But do not be taken away Mother Nature and these campsites from other families who actually love camping, who maybe can't afford to go on vacation, and they can take their kids to like this paradise, which is BC, and these campgrounds that have like clean washrooms and data, because not everyone likes to camp in the boonies like Trevor and I. Don't do that. If you're booking campsites for cheap off the BC Park Board, don't be reselling that ish for like 8 times the price. Okay, this is Canada, aka this is the world. We got to look after our neighbors. Okay, for real. It's a damn shame, Trevor. That's how I want to end the episode. Okay, take care of your damn neighbors.
That's a PSA from Kyle Bowen, and here's a PSA from me. You've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
Peace, 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 peace.